The views and opinions expressed on this podcast is not a direct reflection of the host and his guest's current or previous employers. The topics and hot takes discussed are meant to create conversations while offering a different perspective to current issues in the strength and conditioning industry. The opinions shared on this podcast are not meant to demean or offend anyone. However, as my grandfather used to say, a hit dog will holler. Thank you and enjoy the show. This podcast is sponsored by Simply Faster. Simply Faster is an educational resource and an open platform for coaches to share best practices and firsthand insights while providing peerless technology, equipment, and service.
Okay, cool.
Welcome, everybody, to The Croc Show. I am your host, Elton Cochran, a.k.a. Coach Croc, and today I have Coach Scott Salwasser with me. Coach has been at Texas State, Texas Tech, Cal, Washington State, University of South Carolina, is currently a high school strength coach at Bishop Lynch in Dallas, Texas. Scott, why do we have so many lazy programmers in our profession?
That's a great question, Coach. I think what it is a rebound effect of everyone. Like when I was coming up, you'd have these shiny 12-week programs with all their great percentages, and that was exactly what you did. If it was on the piece of paper, it was going down.
Yeah.
And people realized maybe that was too regimented, too structured, not flexible enough. But now we've gone too far in the other direction where we hide behind technology, we hide behind readiness, we hide behind individualization, we hide behind a number of catchphrases as an excuse to come up with stuff and things right before the session, or the day of, because we say, oh, and by we, of course, not you and me, but those out there are trying to meet their unique needs of their athletes, and that's great. But to me, you have to have a plan, and then deviate from that. Like Jocko says, discipline equals freedom. Like if you have a plan, great. Get your intel, get your GPS data, get your readiness questionnaires, have them jump on the force plate, and then choose path A, B, or C, or whatever, right? But if you're just showing up, scribbling something up right beforehand, and in your mind you're saying it's because I needed to see how they looked that day, that's an excuse, man. Right? That means you're unprepared in my book.
No, for sure. And I think that part of the lazy programming is a lot of people don't know how to program, and then there's also this lost art of actually teaching coaches how to program, right? One of the smartest guys that I've ever worked with, one of the best in the business, Coach Brett Huth at Texas State, he's somebody that would sit me and the other guys down and take us through the warm-up, the setup of the warm-up, take us through phase one, day one, take us through a Monday lift, take us through, how it's supposed to be cued, how it's supposed to be set up, how it's supposed to be coached, and actually break it down. And so then when myself and the other guys, when we go to leave, if we take that program with us, it's authentic because we had somebody to actually teach it to us. I think a lot of times what happens is especially at the high school level, hey, Scott, what y'all doing over there at Bishop Lynch? Hey, can you send me a copy of your in-season football program? And what happens is you send it to me. I don't have enough base knowledge to either interpret it, or maybe I do, but I don't know what you call certain exercises or how you progress or whatever the case may be. And so I'm looking at it and I'm trying to implement it. And now we have the square peg in a round hole, right? And it doesn't fit. And so I think that, a lot of coaches either don't know how to program or they aren't being taught how to program.
Amen. I think you hit on it. First of all, Brett's one of the best in the country.
Yes, sir.
Like legit, incredible friend of mine. One of the best there is. If you haven't done your research on him, but 100% correct. I think now there's so much access to information that you can become an expert in some advanced concepts without understanding some of the basics or underpinning ideologies underneath that, and I think that's great that we have so much access to information, but back in the day you had to, as you said, get under somebody, mentor under them, work for them, and then in exchange they would teach you their program, and there are there's a downside to that, because then it's maybe you think that's the only way to do it, or that's all you know, and that's what you try to do. Right? Just change the logo, and
change the color,
change the color,
font,
right. So there's could potentially be a downside to that too. But you earned that program. Now, like, I don't have to earn anything. I can just type something into my smartphone, and literally we could be doing some drills tomorrow that I've never seen in person, that I've never done before in my life. And so I think that's the piece where these are all snapshots, and dive deeper, man. Hit that person up, man. Like, hit them up, ask them questions. Like, most people are cool, and if they're not cool, then that's a red flag.
And I think, like you said, like, dive deeper, because like, it's one thing for you to give me the program, it's another thing if you give me the program and then we actually sit down and talk about it. Or even better, which I suggest for any high school strength coach, connect with your local collegiate strength coach. So like, I'm in San Antonio, we have UTSA, we have Texas State where Brett's at. It's about a 35-40 minute drive. There's a couple of Division II schools around in San Antonio. Like, there's 5 or 6 universities within an hour's drive for me,
right?
Maybe in an hour 20 if I shoot up to Austin, right? And so if you're a high school strength coach, reach out to those collegiate strength coaches and pick their brain. And like you said, if you reach out to them, hey, coach, I love what you're doing at such and such university. I was wondering if I can drop in on a workout, right? Or I was wondering if, you could help me with my programming. Typically, that coach is going to assist you. It might take some time. Right. They might be in the middle of off season where it's like, hey, like, maybe in spring ball we have more time, but like off season, like I can't. But typically they will take time to kind of help you, because most of those guys had probably, and women have reached that level because somebody helped them. And so it's their opportunity to give back, especially if we're talking about a high school coach seeking knowledge and information from a college coach. So definitely reach out to those local collegiate strength coaches, and even other high school strength coaches. I mean,
that's a big, first of all, if you're in the DFW area, Brian Keegan's at UNT. Incredible. And started out as
the grid father. I call him the grid father. As
a high school strength coach. One of the best, man. So I would check him out. But actually, my high school connections and how I got into high school were in large part from high school strength coaches that reached out to me when I was in college. And then returned the favor when I was like, hey, I now want to go to high school. Do you know anybody? Can you help me? These are people that I had met when I was a college strength coach, so it goes both ways, and relationships are the foundation for everything, man.
For sure. So how do you propose that we fix lazy programming? I mean, obviously I mentioned, getting with your local collegiate strength coaches and even other high school strength coaches in your area, but how do we fix the lazy programming?
I think it's a question of motivation, right? Like, if you're in this and you really love this, like, to me, that's a piece that you should love, because that's creativity, right? That's our art. That's based. That's like calling plays for an offensive coordinator. It's like, what can I draw up? Like, you have your scheme and your philosophy, but as we talked about earlier, it varies and adjusts on a phase-to-phase, year-to-year basis. And to me, that's your piece of art, right? Like, what can I do differently? What can I change? What can I add? What can I take out? Like, that's the piece that really excites me. And see, all right, there is no perfect program, but what can I do better? So I think if you have a passion for the profession, like, that should be something that you're into, right? Like, if it's
bread and butter.
If programming is annoying to you, like, I question, like, what you're really trying to do with this profession, and maybe it's, I have a saying, like, if you want to be famous, go to Hollywood. Right. Like, at the end of the day, it's always about the kids. It needs to just be about the kids and the athletes, and and this is one of the means to get them better, and that should be the main thing.
No, for sure. Well, Coach, I appreciate your time. As always, y'all like and subscribe the Croc Show, and appreciate you, Coach.